Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Bernie here. So Sony announced their latest APS-C camera, which is the a6700, a successor to the a6600 with a slightly different body because of the battery grip. You know, this is great news since there are now additional APS-C cameras to choose from, including the Sony ZV-E10 and the FX30, which I have right now. And APS-C is the right one for me because of the great image quality, amazing autofocus, and crop factor, where lenses have longer reach versus when using a full-frame camera. This is an advantage for me, especially when filming outdoors, if let's say you can't go near the subject. And not only that, I get to have smaller lenses to choose from, although Sony already has some smaller lenses available as well. APS-C makes more sense to me and I'm using it to my advantage. Also, I wanted to make this video to compare the a6700 to the Sony FX30, so I will compare both to the best of my knowledge and from the information I got from other content creators. Also, I'm not going to talk about the photo side of the hybrid a6700 since I don't do photos. Well, I take some using my iPhone, so there's that, huh? Now, the first one that struck me the most is the real-time tracking feature. Even though there's another subject in front of that subject, you still won't lose focus as far as the video sample I saw from Sony is concerned. And the AI works beautifully where it will detect what type of subject you'll be focusing on, like humans, birds, animals, cars, etc. This is so neat in my opinion, and this camera has the most advanced autofocusing feature to date. Alright, another notable feature that I like is the auto crop mode. This is great if you're a solo video shooter and doing a lot of talking head videos, and the camera can follow you around even though it's sitting on a tripod. Once this is set in camera, it will automatically follow you and crop the image, and it will look like someone is operating the camera and filming you. Wow, that's nice, huh? I like this feature a lot since I am mostly doing stuff by myself, so this one is really helpful. Just set it to the widest angle and you will be set. Next is that it uses the same Sony NPF-Z, or in Canada Z100 battery, which is nice, and in my case I can just swap batteries, which is great. I can also use my NPF-Z100 small rig batteries and no longer have to buy a specific battery just for the a6700. Alright, next is the articulating screen, just like the FX30, which is a plus and is very helpful. You know, I really think that it's a must for every camera to be launched moving forward to have an articulating screen rather than just a tilting screen like on the Sony a6600. And I have been saying this for a very long time. This is actually helpful when you're filming a talking head video like this one, as well as for doing vertical videos. The SD card slot is on the side, and gone are the days for this type of hybrid camera that the SD card is inside the battery compartment, which is a pain to access, especially when you have a plate attached to the bottom of the camera. I have experienced this with my Sony ZV-1 right there. You have to remove the plate first to access the SD card. Not really user-friendly in my opinion, but there are workarounds using small plates, but it's not the same when it's on the side, just like the FX30 for easy anytime access. This is actually really huge. And the same menu system has been implemented, which is what I wanted, although not as easy to navigate when you compare it to the menu system of the GH6. The FX30 has the same menu as the a6700, so it's great to know that since I'm already familiar with navigating the newer menu system for the FX30. Also, it can shoot in 4K 24p, 60p, and 120p, but they have the same crop factor though when you compare the 4K 120p feature of both cameras, about 1.6 times. You know, I love filming slow motion shots, and this is great since 4K 120 FPS is very usable, and it's great to know that it's also a feature on the Sony a6700. And S-Log3 and S-Cinetone also are available. I love filming in S-Log3 after experiencing it with the FX30 since you get more dynamic range and cleaner images out of the camera. And for one of my favorite features, the preview LUTs is back, and that's great. And I don't think I can film anything now without this feature moving forward. And so glad that the a6700 has this as well. Same on the FX30, which is always helpful every time I press record. Gone are the days when you're only seeing unflattering log images. But what about the cons I found? Well, first, technically there's no dual base ISO, but as per a video that I've watched on YouTube, they are there but cannot be selected. Take it with a grain of salt though, since the camera has not been released yet. Let's wait for the real world tests and then we can confirm. You know, I've gotten to love the Cine EI mode, which this camera doesn't have, and only flexible ISO is available when in log shooting. And it's basically the regular ISO settings that we're used to using from other cameras. That's understandable since it's a hybrid camera and not part of cinema line. Alright, next is the body design. You know, I'm not really a fan of the A6000 series camera since the body doesn't look enticing in my opinion. Unlike the FX30, you really want to shoot with it every time you look at the camera body since it's really nice to hold as well and has a perfect design overall. You know, from the color to how the buttons are laid out. Although, you know, the A6700 is slightly changed from the A6600 because of the bigger battery grip. Next is that it has no built-in fan, so expect that it will overheat sooner or later. You know, unlike the FX30, I haven't experienced any overheating issues whatsoever. It doesn't matter what frame rates I use. It just works. This is crucial when you only have one camera body and you know that it will work every time you use it. And it's very important for all shoots that it doesn't overheat, especially when you are filming a paid gig. I really believe that every camera should have a built-in fan moving forward to accommodate the other video features, especially if the camera also is capable of filming in 10-bit 422, which the A6700 can also do. Alright, next is the micro HDMI port, and I am really not a fan since it's flimsy, I would say and the full size is always better. And the fact that I have to buy it if it doesn't come with the camera, normally you have to buy it separately. But anyway, and since I always plug in an HDMI monitor to monitor my shots for talking head videos, I really need an HDMI connection. If it's a full size, then I can just use my other HDMI cables here, the same as what I use on the FX30. Alright, and finally one SD card slot only. This one actually doesn't bother me at all because I'm used to filming using just one SD card slot, and I have never encountered any issues at all from filming with the Lumix cameras to now the FX30. I don't have a need to do a relay record or a dual record, maybe in the future, but for now, one SD card slot is enough for me. Alright, so who is this camera for? You know, if you're looking for your first interchangeable lens camera and have a budget of $1,398 US, and that's according to BH Photo, and has some video functionalities same to the FX30, including 5-axis in-body image stabilization, S-Log3, 4K 120 IPS. It has the same battery as the FX30, side access to the SD card slot, also with the addition of real-time tracking, and the auto cropping feature, and a camera that can shoot photos as well. Then the A6700 is a no-brainer choice. As for me though, I will pass and just buy another FX30 if need be. Why? It is because of the overheating issue. You know, even though this will be a B cam for me in case I buy it and will only be used for talking head videos like this one, and knowing that overheating is an issue with this camera, then it's a deal breaker for me. Although there's a workaround if you will only use it as a talking head video camera, just like my Sony ZV-1. I was able to make it work by plugging it in using a dummy battery, or you can just use the USB-C port on the A6700 and has to have the LCD open so it doesn't cause it to overheat when it's closed. And lastly, just set the temp to high. Again, not certain that the same workaround that I'm used to will work with the A6700 since I don't have the camera to test in the first place. But the workaround is there if needed. I understand that $400 is a lot of money, and that is the difference in price when you compare it to the FX30, which retails now for $1,798 as of this recording. So for $400 additional, I really think that it's worth it to add that to your budget and get the FX30 instead. Why? Just for peace of mind and no issues of overheating, and for the other video features that the Sony a6700 doesn't have. How about you? Are you still getting the A6700 despite the drawbacks, including the overheating issue? Or if it's no interest to you, and just add $400 to your budget and get the FX30 instead, since it doesn't overheat, at least in my experience, and with those other features that the A6700 doesn't have. Let me know your thoughts and let's discuss. Alright, that's about it for this video. This is Bernie. Until the next one, thanks for watching. Goodbye for now.